Thanks so much for coming here. So you all are creatives. You decided to create a website to sell your art. You started looking around for tech help, and just talk a little bit about that process and what happened next.
Oh boy. We don't have a strong technical background, so we actually didn't really know where to get started when we initially came up with this idea. And so we were looking around, and there's obviously a lot of, and this is how you build a business, and you have to do things this way and that way, and you have to get investors, and there's so many different barriers that we were seeing from the get-go. And so we just decided to kind of wing it and when we got started, and we did a lot of Frankensteining with different types of platforms and everything, and we were able to eventually put together what our site is now. But yeah.
We originally thought it would take us 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The first time, because we didn't know at the time.
And did it take longer than that?
It took a year.
Yeah. And you were wary of traditional funding sources, right? When you were getting Witchsy off the ground. So why was that, and what did you do then instead?
Well, we originally created the website partially because of I was a seller on Etsy for like 8 years, and there was a lot of censorship, and I was feeling very stifled by the man in a sense. So we wanted to do things our way. We were afraid that if we got an investor, they wouldn't understand our vision, or they would try to, control things in a certain way. And we don't like authority, and that's kind of why we made our own website. Instead of like complaining about someone else's rules, we just made our own.
And did it take a year because you were finding your way in sort of seeking alternative funding or an alternative way to go about it? Is that why it took a year?
Well, we were totally self-funded. We used money that we earned ourselves. So we had a very tiny budget, and we're like, we can make this work. We can figure it out. And so we had a few flops. I think we had to try like 5 times.
Yeah, 5 different times. And we have a very like DIY kind of punk background, so we're always just kind of like, I don't know, just like tape it together. And so that's kind of what happened with the site, is that we kept finding different means to make something. They were cheaper and kind of easier, and they weren't necessarily aesthetically always the most beautiful, but...
And we learned little bits along the way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we want this, and then we can use this coding,
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the two of you creating a less authoritative version of Etsy, a more freer, more open version of creating Witchsy.
Yeah.
And so it's two of you, but there's some guy named Keith Mann. Who is Keith Mann?
He's so strong.
So we
Let's
created...
talk about the man.
So when we were getting started, we were working with some developers, and at first we just thought maybe we didn't know what we were doing, and that's why they were so rude to us all the time. But what ended up happening was, after an experience with one person who got really aggressive towards me when I was speaking with him, I just decided that we were going to have a fake person to just kind of be a buffer between us and everyone else. So that way we could always just think like, oh yeah, man, Keith, what an idiot, that guy. Like, don't worry, we'll like make sure that's covered. And what ended up happening was, the minute we introduced Keith Mann into the fold of our emails, and there was no background, we didn't have a LinkedIn, we didn't do anything. We put like 0 effort into him.
He had a Twitter.
You just CC'd him, right?
Yeah. And the minute he came into play, suddenly the responses were so much more receptive. And at first we didn't really put too much weight into it, but then we started realizing that Keith was being consulted before us on things.
They were taking you off the email chain?
Yeah, exactly.
Kate noticed that whenever we emailed him, a specific developer never addressed us by name, but every time Keith emailed him, he'd start every email off with Keith. Yes, it was just like the response. Everything was just more yes and less excuses.
So we just thought, all right, I guess Keith's on the team.
And I mean, it was very helpful.
Yeah, it was
made
great.
things go faster. It
really did.
So just to confirm, when you first thought of Keith and created him, the idea was that he was going to be sort of the person you blamed things on?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh totally.
Yeah.
He was going to be the dunce.
His title was business director.
Right. So the way that writers sometimes do with editors, right? That you say, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you this question because my editor wants me to ask it. So is that the role that he was going to be the
Absolutely, yeah.
the guy you just had to he had some question that he needed to ask, but you all were so you didn't create him as a test to see whether he would be treated with more respect than you. It was sort of the opposite.
Yeah, we thought we would just get to completely make fun of him all the time or something.
Or be like, oh, Keith was supposed to send that over, or Keith doesn't understand this, or.
But yeah, no, we never went in thinking let's do this social experiment right now. But it did become that, I guess.
So the before and the after, when you say there was a developer who was getting aggressive with you, like what? What do you mean by that? What sort of?
Oh my God.
No, there's just someone who didn't deliver what they said they were going to by the time, and then basically reversed it on us and was getting angry at us and being like, you ladies don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, even though, we had outlined an exact contract saying you were going to deliver this at this time. And so I remember calling you and being like, oh, someone's got some mommy issues, or someone just went through a breakup, because he just, he unloaded, it just got aggressive and personal so fast.
Yeah.
You were talking to him very professionally, and
yeah, the line between business and professional immediately just disappeared, and it was just
yeah.
So
And did this same developer ever deal with Keith?
No,
because we
after that
cut
we
ties with him.
You
No,
didn't deal with
thanks,
that
dude.
developer anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at what point did it dawn on you that Keith was getting more deferential treatment than you were? Because that sounds like that came as a surprise that this was taking.
I think we noticed a few weeks in.
Yeah, because everything started going faster. No one ever was questioning any of the projects that we were doing, because that was the biggest thing that was always slowing us down, is that every time we would propose an idea, we would always be then responded with, are you sure that you want to do it this way?
I haven't seen a company do it this way, or their site doesn't, sites don't normally work. Yeah, I don't know.
So when Keith would ask for it, it would be something like, what a great idea. Keith, you got upper management written all over you.
And his Gmail photo, I Googled handsome businessman. And so he was, and I specifically wanted someone who was had a lot of testosterone, but had kind eyes. So I wanted him to be approachable and personable, but if you wronged him, he could beat you up.
This sounds perfect. And so how did his role then evolve in your company? Did he start sending emails directly, or did he start having meetings, or?
We did.
There was one time someone wanted to hop on a call with Keith to go over a few things, and he suddenly couldn't make the call, so we had to take it.
He had to pick up his mother-in-law at the airport, and Kate wrote this joke, and I remember cracking up when I was reading it, because sometimes, I don't know, she'd put things in, but she was he was I have to go pick up my mother-in-law at the airport. Obviously, I'd rather be working. And then the coder was oh, Keith, I totally understand.
Yeah.
Because we knew that the specific coder was a family man, so we made Keith a family man too, and then they related.
And also we would do stuff like that, not to be we were messing with those people, yes, but also just because also it was such a terrible experience for us if we were to really look at everything kind of without a rose-colored lens of oh, we're starting something we're excited about. It's wow, everyone's treating us like we don't know what we're doing. We're going broke. This is really difficult.
It was mildly, I wouldn't say terrible, but mildly traumatizing and really anxiety-fueled, because it was our savings.
Yeah.
And we didn't know if we were just dumping it into a hole.
Yeah.
So it was
So we would always make little jokes like that to keep us going.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Did you find that women treated Keith differently also than they treated you?
We didn't.
We'd
We'd
have
always
any
look.
female. We were finding people on Craigslist and Lance and stuff like that. So a lot of the people that we could afford were all men.
That was who
we
responded
did have a very small budget.
to our job ads.
Yeah.
Though the person we ended up working with was a woman.
Yeah. Now we actually have a female developer on our team, which is very exciting.
Yeah. And she's great.
And your story got picked up by Fast Company, the fact that you created a fake male co-founder, right, or staffer, or
Coworker.
and coworker. Why do you think there was a huge response, right? to
Yeah.
this? I mean,
Yeah, we
right.
weren't expecting that
Right.
at all.
Why do you think there was such a huge response? I mean,
I mean, I always say we were lucky, and it was just a day that Trump didn't do something particularly stupid, and so it just got shared more than it would have otherwise.
Yeah, and also I think it's just something where a lot of people have been talking about how there's a lot of sexism in tech, and they're just like, why is this a thing? And then there's this situation with us, and it's a very clear, cut and dry, this is proof, you don't need to second guess it, there's no question that this actually happened, and these women were treated as less than this fake person that doesn't even exist or have a LinkedIn.
and once the story appeared in Fast Company and elsewhere, did Keith have to go away?
Oh, he's been gone for
He's
a
been
while.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear from any of the developers you had worked with who, were they angry that they had been duped? Were they apologetic? Did anybody come back to you shamefaced, or did they just sort of ignore this?
No, we haven't heard.
No.
I mean, we were wondering, but
Yeah.
no one reached
No
out.
one came forward. I think honestly, if anything, they're kind of embarrassed probably. So hopefully they're reflective on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd like to see if the audience has questions. And we have mic runners to give you a mic to ask the question.
I'm James Wright at LinkedIn. I just had a quick comical question. Have you seen the movie, and it definitely dates me, The Associate, where Whoopi Goldberg plays the same character? She plays a white male because she can't get the attention of any man to understand that she's actually running the company and not the assistant. So had you seen that movie? Did that give you any inspiration at all? Because I think it's
No.
wonderful what you did. Thank you.
No, yeah, we've had what is it?
Remington Steele, The Associate. Yeah,
We hadn't heard of those before.
Yeah, I mean, it's a farce as old as time. Like Shakespeare
true,
has
yeah.
been doing this.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's more pulled from when we do stuff, because we're both musicians. When we've done stuff, we have a manager, and it's just an email.
Yeah. I also was partially inspired by J.K. Rowling.
No.
I see. So as musicians, you had done this before just because you didn't have a manager, and you
Yeah.
wanted it to seem like you had a
Yeah.
manager. Yeah.
Because then if we demand a certain thing,
Right.
we look like divas, but if
Right.
the manager,
Right.
then
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
Right.
yes, okay.
I see. So there's actually a long, distinguished tradition of creating fictional businesses
Absolutely.
when they're convenient.
Just big liars up here.
Kachi with the 410. I'm just curious because we laugh about it. I saw your video on Facebook. I laughed about it, but I tend to run angry generally. Were you guys never pissed off about this? Did you never have negative feelings like this is crap because it was crap?
I mean, yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things that we always like to think about when we have dealt with situations like this, and with everything that we do, especially creatively, you also are dealt a different card as a woman. And I think we always just think of how can we be better and not bitter about these things? How can we take these terrible situations and then adjust them so that way, it's better for us, and then other people can see that we can take these things and make them more positive. I mean, that's kind of where we come from, because it's if we would have felt that way and just held on to that, I think we would have also slowed down a bit, and it was really important for us to just keep pushing through and be like, this is terrible, this sucks, but this is what we have, so let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Does it surprise you, being in such a progressive industry, that this would still be the case? That a man who's emailing would get more respect than a woman? I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's 2017, so it is surprising anytime. I think it's great though that we're seeing this, and everybody's having to really face this and think about how they treat other people and how they are being inclusive and what they're doing to actively make a change. Because I think for a long time we've been in a place where we've been like, oh, everything's fine, everything's all good, and I think this more recent shakeup is a good thing, positive.
Hi, back over here. Hi, my name is Diane Strutner, and I started a tech company called DataZoom. And I've had some challenges trying to hire men in the space because, I'm younger, they don't take me as seriously. I was wondering if you had any advice for other young women who are trying to and have to hire men in their industry that could help us be more successful.
This is weird advice, but I remember my brother telling me, he's like, wear shoulder pads and speak in a lower voice, and men will listen to you more. And it works for me.
Wait, that's what, really?
No, yeah.
That's what women were doing in the 80s, right? Wearing shoulder pads
Yeah.
and little bow ties.
Yeah.
I really thought we were past that.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, but
I
seriously-
noticed that your business voice, your normal voice is kind of bubbly, but when you're on the phone and you're in business mode, your voice is a little bit lower.
Yeah, I
But
don't
I'm
know.
sure it's not conscious,
I would just
but-
hire women.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the question is about getting respect for your authority.
Yeah.
We talk about women needing respect as junior employers or staffers, but whatever. But getting respect for you as a founder and an authority figure and a boss, right?
Yeah.
And that's incredibly important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we weed out the people that don't respect women or don't treat women like with authority, then we're making progress.
And how is your company doing? And do you see any future for Keith with your company? Or do we feel like we're past that now? Good, hopefully.
I still occasionally will, working in my own personal art practice, will pretend to be a man, or it's a tool that's just sometimes helpful.
Psychologically,
Or no, I don't know if I'm working with like manufacturers in China.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, the company's doing really well. We're in our first year and a half, and we've been pulling profit, which is exciting because there's over 400 artists on our site now, so they're all doing pretty well. And yeah, for now, I think Keith's role in the company is done. He's retired.
That's great. Well, let's hope there will be no future need for
Though
him.
his brother, what was it, like John Boy or something? I don't know.
Todd Boy.
Todd Boy might have to come work for us someday. We don't know.
Well, I hope he's sufficiently respectful of your authority. Thank you so much. It's great to have you.
Thank you.